The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible. Policy rates, public debt, and global trade tensions. Hello and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, August 21, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, BOJ Governor outlines factors behind MPC's decision to hold policy rate at 5.75%. On the regional front, the Bahamas public sector debt hits $13.15 billion in financial year 2024-2025. The central bank government debt falls as GDP share declines. And on the global stage, the US and EU unveil trade framework detailing tariffs on autos and pharmaceuticals. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after our first break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. Forward in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but the body wants it. And then your head is so home, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3, go!
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
Me grew up and see my granny and save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Okay. Your grandmother house never burned down?
No, how you reached that, so? That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
gardening coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I'll pick it
thank
up
you.
for you. But tell me something, why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
The local news is brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Gardening coming along well.
Thanks, man. You know, it's a long time I've been working at it.
I can see that. I saw your mail by the gate, so I'll pick it up for you. But tell me something, why are you still receiving dividend checks by mail?
What do you mean about that?
You need to give JCSD a mandate.
You know, me hear about the mandate them. I'm going over there right now.
A mandate means giving instructions to the Jamaica Central Securities Depository Limited, JCSD, relating to the handling of your dividend or interest payment. There are 3 types of mandates. The first is a bank mandate. The second is a hold mandate. Lastly, we have what we call a third-party mandate, with which the investor may wish to send their dividend or interest to someone other than the parties on their account or institution of their choice.
The local news is brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with the latest economic update from the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ. On Wednesday, CBX News reported that the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of BOJ unanimously agreed to hold the policy rate at 5.75% per annum, while also aiming to preserve relative stability in the foreign exchange market. At BOJ's quarterly monetary policy press conference held earlier today at its downtown Kingston offices, Governor Richard Biles detailed the factors influencing the MPC's decision, including Jamaica's headline inflation for July 2025, which was lower than the bank's target range of 4 to 6%.
On the 15th of August, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica started reported that headline inflation at July 2025 was 3%, which was lower than the outturn a year ago and below the lower end of the bank's inflation target of 4 to 6%. Core inflation, which excludes the prices of agricultural food products and fuel from the Consumer Price Index, was 4.3% at July 2025, which was also below the rate at July 2024. The significant reduction in headline inflation over the year primarily reflected the impact of a set of temporary factors, including 1. the ending of the impact of previous increases in public transport fares and the non-imposition of new increases.
Another factor that influenced the MPC's decision, Governor Biles noted, was the reduction in the tax collected on electricity.
Effect of the reduction in the general consumption tax on electricity prices. And 3, faster pace of reduction in agricultural prices due to improved conditions in that sector.
He says the MPC opted to hold the policy rate at 5.75% due to a decline in energy costs.
Inflation has also been anchored by falling energy prices, particularly for crude oil, and fairly stable inflation expectations, which is the inflation rate businesses and consumers expect in the future. The fact that low inflation rate, which is below the target, currently prevailing is being driven by these temporary factors means that inflation will eventually return to the target range once the cumulative impact of these factors subside.
Governor Biles went further to disclose that the developments in the foreign exchange market were also considered by the MPC in making its decision.
The market recently experienced slightly higher than usual volatility, again due to temporary factors. The exchange rate at the end of June depreciated by 2.5% compared with the rate at the end of December 2024, which was faster than the pace of the previous 6 months. This unsteadiness was particularly evident in April and May, underpinned by temporary factors, including A, uncertainties about developments in the global economy, B, the movement in the rate through the psychological threshold of $160 to $1.
Meanwhile, the BOJ governor is noting that Jamaica's inflation forecast risks could come in higher than previously projected.
Risks to inflation for Jamaica are skewed to the upside, which means that inflation could be moderately higher than projected. Higher inflation could stem from a sharper than anticipated increase in the tariff faced by the U.S. trading partners, resulting in higher imported inflation and elevated inflation expectations.
He added that inflation could also come in higher than projected if geopolitical tensions escalate, potentially disrupting international supply chains. At the same time, lower inflation could result from weaker global demand or softer than expected commodity prices. The governor is also noting that uncertainties surrounding U.S. policies are weighing on Jamaica's near-term economic outlook.
Inflation for Jamaica are skewed to the upside, which means that inflation could be moderately higher than projected. Higher inflation could stem from a sharper than anticipated increase in the tariff faced by the U.S. trading partners, resulting in higher imported inflation and elevated inflation expectations.
BOJ Governor Richard Biles. In all the news, Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is reminding the public that effective September 1, it will no longer accept personal, business, or company checks for payment of public monies and tax-related transactions. Exceptions will apply only in the following cases: where a valid check is issued by another ministry, department, or public body, or where a valid manager's check is issued by a licensed local commercial bank regulated by the Bank of Jamaica, BOJ. While non-check payments will continue to be accepted in branch, TAJ is encouraging taxpayers and stakeholders to use online payment options, including the TAJ's website using a valid debit or credit card, direct funds transfer DFT, NCB or Scotia Online Banking, and Scotia mobile app. BOJ intervened in the foreign exchange market for a third straight day, injecting another US $30 million this morning. This continues to positively impact the market as once again the Jamaican dollar gained against its US counterpart, closing today's currency trading at $160.57, down from $160.92 on Wednesday. The Canadian is selling for $118.42, the pound for $217.41, while $186.43 is the going rate for the euro. Up next, trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 109 stocks traded on the JSE Thursday, of which 38 advanced, 47 declined, and 24 traded firm. Cygnus Credit Investments US dollar ordinary shares, Jamaica Public Service Company 9.5%, Spur Tree Spices Jamaica, and Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC led today's winners. While leading the losers were R.A. Williams Distributors, Sagicor Real Estate X Fund, JMMB Group 8.50% US dollar, and JMMB Group 7.15% cumulative redeemable preference share. Now the main index declined by 1,470.24 points, or 0.47%, to close at 311,812.74. The junior market index, however, advanced by 0.61, or 0.02%, to close at 3,443.04. And it's time for our market education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. As part of our election education series, today's market education feature focuses on the term campaign finance. Campaign finance, also known as election finance or political donations, refers to the funds raised to support candidates, political parties, policy proposals, or referendums. Contributors and recipients can include individuals, corporations, political parties, and non-profit organizations. Political campaigns often involve significant expenses, including travel, staffing, consultations, and advertising. In Jamaica, the Electoral Office of Jamaica EOJ monitors and assesses the funding of political parties and election campaigns to ensure transparency and compliance with local regulations. The market education feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for our market education feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
To open a savings account for my son John. I really want him to start saving and managing his own money.
And I need for Safe to visit my father in New York.
Okay, based on what you said and our risk assessment, he will qualify for simplified customer due diligence requirements. I'll need your ID, proof of income, TRN, and John's ID as well.
Okay, here you go.
Opening an account is easier than you think using simplified customer due diligence requirements, also called CDD.
back. Now to news from across the region. The Bahamas' public sector debt rose to an estimated $13.15 billion at the end of June 2025, according to the Debt Management Office's fourth quarter report for financial year 2024-2025. This marked a $17.4 million or 0.1% increase from March 2025 and a $440.9 million rise year on year. Central government debt totaled $11.77 billion, up $455.4 million or 4% from June last year, but its share of GDP declined to 73.4% from 77.7% a year earlier. Foreign currency debt climbed 2.8% to $5.88 billion, while Bahamian dollar debt expanded 4.1% to $7.27 billion, accounting for 55.3% of total debt. Growth in external debt reflected a $273 million or 23.5% increase in borrowings from financial institutions and $59.9 million or 2.1% in capital market transactions, partially offsetting repayments to multilateral $125.4 million and bilateral $5.3 million creditors. Domestically, debt owed to commercial banks $224.6 million or 8%, and the private sector $207.6 million or 7.7% rose, while obligations to the central bank $166.1 million or 19%, and public corporations $92.2 million or 14.3% declined. By currency, the debt portfolio comprised 55.3% Bahamian dollars, 39% US dollar, and 5.7% other currencies. Fixed rate instruments represented 64.7% of the total, with variable rates at 35.3%. St. Lucia is opening its electricity sector to major business opportunities with the introduction of a new electricity bill aimed at attracting independent power producers, IPPs, and renewable energy investors. The bill ends the St. Lucia Electricity Services Limited's monopoly on electricity generation, creating a competitive market for private sector participation, while retaining the company's role in transmission and distribution due to market scale limitations. Presenting the ministerial statement on the electricity bill in Parliament on Tuesday, Energy Minister Stephenson King says the legislation will create a modern regulatory framework, offering predictability and transparency for investors in both generation and renewable energy projects.
The draft electricity bill, Mr. Speaker, represents a bold and necessary step forward for St. Lucia. It provides a modern legislative framework that will drive investment, increase renewable energy penetration, and improve the overall efficiency of our electricity sector debate.
He says the business community was engaged throughout the legislative process.
The private sector, the Chamber of Commerce, Consumer Affairs, Manufacturing Association, will also engage through this process of consultation. Prior to the holding of the meetings and throughout the consultation period, the draft bill was circulated for public consumption and comment. Periodic updates were also presented to me as the minister responsible for energy.
St. Lucia's Energy Minister, Stephenson King. In other news, Belize has successfully completed milestone 4 of its Blue Bonds program, marking a significant advance in safeguarding the country's marine resources. In November last year, the Blue Bond and Finance Permanence Unit submitted documentation to Belize Blue Investment Company Limited, fulfilling a critical conservation target under the program's conservation funding agreement. Milestone 4 required that 25% of Belize's ocean territory be designated as biodiversity protection zones by the program's third year. To meet this target, the government proposed 1,669.64 square kilometers of new medium protection zones, bringing total protected ocean space to 8,360.1 square kilometers, representing 25.05% of national waters. Newly designated areas include expansions at Lighthouse Reef, Glover's Reef, and Balcalar Chico. These medium protection zones allow for carefully managed use, ensuring healthy marine ecosystems while supporting coastal livelihoods. The government's protecting key habitats such as reefs, mangroves, and seagrass beds strengthens fisheries, enhances coastal resilience, and conserves biodiversity, they added. Now to trading news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. 13 securities traded on the TTSE Thursday, of which 3 advanced, 5 declined, and 5 traded firm. Today's winners were Trinidad and Tobago NGL, MedCorp, and Massey Holdings, while leading the losers were the West Indian Tobacco Company, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, Scotiabank TNT, and Republic Financial Holdings. Other results include the All TNT Index declining by 1.47 to close at 1,468.06. The Composite Index declining by 0.76 to close at 1,017.65. And the Cross-Listed Index and the SME and the cross-listed index remained unchanged at 75.01, while the SME index advanced by 0.66 to close at 97.06. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. Nielsen Rose is up next with the international news segment.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, initial jobless claims in the United States rose by 11,000 to 235,000 in the second week of August, significantly surpassing market expectations of 225,000. The figure marks the steepest weekly increase in new filings for unemployment benefits in 2 months, highlighting emerging signs of weakness in the labor market. At the same time, continuing claims, which measure the number of persons receiving ongoing unemployment benefits, climbed by 30,000 to 1.972 million in the first week of August. That figure also exceeds forecasts, which had projected a 1.96 million claims and now stands at the highest level since late 2021. The data, part of a broader trend pointing to cooling employment conditions, reflects subdued hiring activity across several sectors. Economists note that elevated continuing claims indicate that unemployed workers are finding it more difficult to secure new jobs, contributing to the overall slowdown. The United States and the European Union have released new details of their recently agreed trade framework, providing greater clarity on tariff structures affecting key industries, including autos and pharmaceuticals. The update, announced Thursday, follows a broader agreement reached last month between the two long-time trade ties. The clarified measures are expected to ease uncertainty for manufacturers and exporters on both sides of the Atlantic. Officials say the new terms are part of ongoing efforts to promote fair competition and reduce trade frictions in critical sectors, though specific tariff rates and implementation timelines have not yet been disclosed. The agreement marks another step in stabilizing the economic relations between the US and the EU following years of trade tensions and shifting global supply chains. Walmart lifted its full-year sales and earnings forecasts, signaling strong consumer demand even as the retail giant faces mounting costs from tariffs. The company acknowledged that tariff-related expenses are on the rise, prompting selective price increases on some items, while keeping others steady to maintain its value-focused appeal. Chief Financial Officer John David Rainey told CNBC that one key strategy has been accelerating inventory purchases to get ahead of potential cost hikes. The upbeat outlook reflects Walmart's confidence in its pricing power and supply chain agility, even amid persistent global trade pressures and a cautious consumer environment. The cryptocurrency market continued its downward trajectory this Thursday, with major digital assets posting losses amid broader market uncertainty and profit-taking after a strong year-to-date gains. Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, traded at $113,079, down 1.03% from the previous session, a decline of $1,180 over the past 4 weeks. Bitcoin has shed 5.77%, though it remains significantly up 87.26% over the last 12 months, reflecting its resilience in long-term investor portfolios. Ether also fell, dropping 1.51% to 4,265.90. The Ethereum token has seen a steeper monthly decline of 13.81%, likely weighed down by concerns over network congestion and scaling challenges. Despite the short-term pressure, Ether has gained 62.60% year-over-year, supported by growing institutional interest and the expansion of the decentralized application dApps on its platform. Meanwhile, Binance Coin BNB slipped 1.90% to $851.30, extending its 4-week loss to 8.50%. Over the past year, BNB has appreciated by 46.15%, underpinned by the continued expansion of the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem and raising trade volumes on the Binance exchange. The pullback across cryptocurrency assets comes as global markets digest mixed economic signals, including tighter monetary policies in key regions and renewed regulatory scrutiny of digital assets. Analysts note that while short-term volatility remains elevated, the sector's strong 12-month performance suggests underlying investor confidence has yet to be shaken. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Neil for your recap.
Welcome back, and now to recap our top stories. Locally, BOJ Governor outlines factors behind MPC's decision to hold the policy rate at 5.75%. Regionally, the Bahamas public sector debt hits $13.15 billion in financial year 2024-2025, and on the international scene, the US and EU unveil trade framework detailing new tariffs. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Yanil Wood, wishing for you a wonderful evening, and continue to watch CBX, your region, your business, your source.